Hey, Courtney, did you watch the Super Bowl?
You know I did.
Did you see the ad with the foot fetish?
What do you mean, foot fetish?
It was like they kept washing people's feet.
Oh, Jennifer, are you talking about the Jesus ad?
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. Welcome to MILF,
I'm Courtney,
and I'm Jennifer.
and we are two moms into literary freedom.
So I just opened my TikTok to look up another video about the whole Jesus thing. And the first thing that pops up is an ad for it.
That's because they're always listening to us,
Oh,
Jennifer.
for real? That's creepy as hell.
Which sometimes I appreciate because I'm like, oh yeah, I really did want to buy that product.
Yes.
Thank you. But other times I'm like, ooh, no, thank you.
This is weird. Like, why is it?
So what's it called? It's like
He Gets Us.
He Gets Us. So I looked this organization up, He Gets Us, and it's so hypocritical because they donate so much money to like anti-reproductive rights organizations, anti-gay or LGBTQ plus organizations. Like they do not practice what they preach. They are nothing like the heartwarming ad that we see. Well, I guess it was heartwarming for me, but for you, it was a foot fetish.
It was a little weird.
I mean, yeah, it could be an OnlyFans ad, I guess. I don't know. Who really knows?
Maybe that's where that thought came to my mind because I'm always thinking I can sell feet pics.
Oh my God. I know.
Make some extra money.
Okay, so this is a complete left turn, but did you see the article about I think they were Australian or New Zealand or something, but they were like these totally hot babes that were bathing in cereal.
What?
It's like milk and like Fruit Loops, it looked like, in their bathtubs, and they have like these like sexy bikinis on, and there's like Fruit Loops like sticking to their boobs and stuff. And so they like take pictures and put it on social media, and of course social media goes crazy.
Right.
And so they make so much money selling the fucking milk that they were bathing in.
Oh, yes. Okay, because I know that you can sell like your sweaty socks online. Your underwear,
Disgusting.
used pads.
But hey, okay, even more I was just about to say to each their own, but then it's like, no.
An infinite amount of things that you can sell.
Clearly this is not the junior episode, but
And off topic, we've completely gone off the rails.
I mean, we're talking about OnlyFans and foot fetishes.
And it is Valentine's Day, so
Yeah,
maybe
happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Little love language talk, I guess.
Yeah.
If that's your kink.
Yep. We're sitting here with some dark chocolate peanut butter cups that my wonderful partner gave me, but I was just telling Jennifer that it's just like he constantly comes home with chocolate because I'm always pissed off. And he's always
He's like, here, be kind to me today.
Yeah, like Valentine's Day is like, not really a thing in our house because he's always buying me chocolate.
Yeah.
Which, I appreciate.
Yeah. No, we don't do much for Valentine's Day either. Like, first of all, every restaurant is going to be packed.
Yeah.
And then we've got kids. And
it's a kid holiday.
it is. That's the only thing I do. I'll get the kid stuff, but usually I'll wait till tomorrow.
Oh,
and
that's
get all
so
the discounted
smart.
stuff.
Oh my God, I'm doing that next year.
Yeah.
That is so smart.
And they know. They're like, yeah, we'll wait till tomorrow because we'll get more stuff.
February 15th is Valentine's Day, guys.
Exactly.
What are you talking about? It's not the 14th.
So there's your tip for the day.
That's awesome. So so the kids were doing their Valentine's, which I think 5th grade is like the last year that you do Valentine's.
CJ did not ask for them.
Okay.
So I was like, please don't ask me.
Yeah.
Last night, I was like, if he tells me if he tells me, I'm not, too bad.
Yeah, because CJ's your youngest.
Yeah.
And so my youngest is in 1st grade, so like I have to get the Valentine's. So I just bought 3 sets, and I'm so sick of the candy because they just get so hopped up on sugar at school. I'm like, you don't need any more candy. Like, there's gonna be plenty. So I got them these like rocks, and they're like little heart-shaped rocks. And it's like, you rock Valentine. You put a little, it's cute. Yeah. But I was like, I told my youngest, who's in 1st grade, I was like, tell your friends this isn't candy. Like,
oh my God,
please don't try it. Like, I'm like regretting it big time. I'm like waiting for the call from the teacher. Like, someone choked on one of your kids' Valentines.
Panic
like,
attack.
Please no. But what I was gonna say is, my oldest, Magnolia, she was just like borderline, I don't really know if I want to, but like my friends are doing it, so I'm gonna do it. And so some of the Valentines say, like, you rock, Valentine. And one of them says, like, my love for you is crystal clear. None of the kids wanted to use those.
Right.
I'm like, guys, we have a problem because now we don't have any. So, like, you have to use these for some people.
Right.
They're like, okay, I'll just use them for, like, my best friends or something.
That's funny.
But then she was like, I don't like that this says Valentine. I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea. So she cut the word Valentine off the Valentine. And it just says, you rock.
You rock. Oh,
and it's
cute.
just like a picture, like a heart. A heart-shaped rock. So I just thought that was really funny.
See, I thought I was done with Valentine's Day stuff.
Yeah.
But now my 12-year-old, she wants to buy all her friends.
See, that's annoying.
And then it's not like a whole little
It's
pack
like
of cards.
each gift is $5
Yes.
minimum. I'm like, no.
So she's asked me this weekend, like,
Yeah.
oh, can we go, get, I'm like, look, we're going to the Dollar Tree.
Yeah.
You've got $10.
There you go. That's
Make
nice.
it work.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Because, yeah, that is going to happen. And then you, as a parent, like, you don't want your kid to be left out. And,
Yes.
Because I remember being a kid and, like, all of my friends, like, saying, oh, I got you a present. I'm like, oh, I didn't get you anything. And then you feel bad.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, But, like, oh, it's so annoying. It's such a commercialized holiday. Yeah. Like, ugh.
It's hard.
You can't escape it. Any store you go into.
And they want to be cool, so they don't want to give anything that's too, like, sweet.
Yeah.
But they also want to get stuff and give stuff. I don't know. It's so complicated.
It's like, here's a token of my affection for you, but with, like, only cool words.
Right.
Like, I don't know. It's so complicated. I don't know. But I did get my husband some meat hearts.
Ooh.
And, like, it's like beef jerky.
Yeah.
And it's like each little piece of beef jerky is shaped like a heart. And it says, like, love you or something.
Oh, so like the candy hearts, but in meat.
But meat, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. I didn't get my husband anything. I'll give him something later tonight.
I won't.
You already got him beef hearts.
That's right.
You're winning. I should have thought of this.
Oh, that's funny. Anyway. So today's episode, before we were going to jump into it, I'm just completely shifting gears here. Jennifer loves my transition.
But also I'm having like the dirtiest joke in my head, and I'm like, I can't say that.
Tell it.
Well, I was going to say.
I'm here for
you
it.
You gave him beef hearts. You gave him beef hearts. Don't put that in there.
Beef what?
Flaps.
I gotta leave it in.
No, don't do that to me. That's too dirty.
Oh my god. So the book today we're covering is All American Boys, written by two authors, Jason Reynolds and Brendan
Kiely, I think it's pronounced.
Kiely. Okay.
Hold on, let's find out how it's pronounced, because
Okay, well, Jennifer's looking that up. Because it is important that we say the names correctly.
I know,
but
yeah.
So before we start getting into the book, because we are going to talk about the book and the problems Moms for Liberty has with the book, since it is Black History Month. This is a novel about two boys, a black boy and a white boy. But we wanted to, wasn't there something we wanted to talk about before? We were going to mention the ridiculous permission slip in Miami-Dade.
Oh, yes.
It's crazy. And it's honestly, long story short, it's because of, the Parental Rights and Education Act that Ron DeSantis passed initially in 2022 and keeps expanding along with the Stop Woke Act.
Yeah.
So school districts as big as Miami are covering their asses. And so they're like, fuck it, we're just going to have to require permission slips for every fucking thing we do. Because we don't want to deal with litigations from parents, because that is what these laws have made it so easy that parents can sue for anything.
Which, it's basically saying, like, if you're racist and you don't want your child to learn about Black history, sign here.
We're giving racist parents an out. Like, oh, sorry, Black voices are not important to me, and if anything, they're offensive. So my child is going to go sit in the library and read Little House on the Prairie because that's the only thing they're allowed to read.
Here's the Bible. This
is
what
or
you
the
can
Bible. Thank you. That's more accurate. And unless you're like Flagler, which is our school district, and you like lawsuits, then,
Oh my God.
Because our district has a few right now, and they just love lawsuits. So they do stupid shit like fire our attorney with no just cause. And
just cause.
They claim that they're just cause. I don't like her. And, she just looked at me funny the other day, and that just made me feel squishy.
And I don't like the Sunshine Law. Yeah. And she supports that, so we got to get rid of her.
One of our school board members literally uses the word squishy.
Squishy?
As like a way to express her discomfort. She's a CEO, guys. She can't use actual words to express her discomfort.
That doesn't sound very CEO of her.
Yeah. Anyway, Flagler likes lawsuits. But Miami-Dade and Brevard and all these other big districts in the state, they don't want to get sued. So what they're going to, do everything they can to cover their asses. And so we'll post this in our show notes, but it is a permission slip that for elementary students, asking parents to sign, and it literally says a African American speaker.
Yeah, to hear a story from to it's a read aloud, right?
Yeah, it says read aloud.
Something like read aloud a story written by an African American.
That's what it says word for word. Students will participate and listen to a book written by an African American. What? I'm sorry.
That screams like racism to me. Am I wrong? I don't know.
Yes, that's racism. Types of guests that may attend the activity or event: firemen, doctors, and artists.
Because it doesn't even mention a title of a book.
No.
Like, do you have a problem with this book? No, you just have a problem that the author is African American.
And of course, even if... Go ahead.
I wonder if the teacher specifically wrote it that way so that the parents would have to sign and be like, yes, I'm fucking racist.
Well, I feel like there are some teachers and administrators and, districts that are like, this is beyond crazy. Yeah. This is what you're forcing us to do. We're going to show you how ridiculous this is. And kudos to them because
kudos.
This 100%. Definitely needs to be national attention. That this is what these are the decisions that teachers and administrators are having to make and put their time and energy into getting a permission slip instead of actually devoting their time and energy to helping that kid who's falling through the cracks or developing that lesson plan that's going to be super engaging and student centered. Instead, they're focusing on I need to get a permission slip for this,
and we're already short staffed, and now we have to have alternate plans for this group of kids that don't want to do this.
Oh yeah, so what? Yeah, exactly. What are we going to do with half the class whose parents are racist and don't
forgot to send in the permission slip because they didn't even see it?
Yeah, there's something sitting on my kitchen counter that needs to go to my youngest guidance counselor 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm notorious for not checking.
And it's super important, and I'm just like, oh my god, I keep forgetting. Mm-hmm. So how am I going to remember to do that?
Yeah, and not to mention that when I do remember to sign it, weeks later I check his folder and it's still in his folder because he didn't turn it in either.
She does that all the time. I'm like, Kiki, you didn't turn in your homework from 2 weeks ago. Right. It's just sitting here. She's like, oh yeah,
right.
So it's just ridiculous. We wanted to kind of give that the attention that it deserves. Yeah. Because and I think I read an article where Miami-Dade was like, well, we might reach out to the state for guidance and clarification on if this is actually necessary. It's too late. The damage is already done. If they come back and they're like, oh, you know what? Actually, this isn't necessary. Then, it doesn't matter because the law is so vague and unclear that it's making an entire humongous district think twice about how they're going, about the opportunities that they're offering their students. Yep. So it's just...
And who gets hurt in this again? Just the kids.
Exactly. Yeah. And the African American kids. Think about how it makes them feel. We need a permission slip to listen to a black fireman, but not a white fireman?
Are they going to send out a permission slip when there's a white author?
I mean, they haven't in the past. Maybe honestly, I guess if we're going to play devil's advocate here, I did get a permission slip for my youngest to watch a puppet show about Jack and the Beanstalk.
Okay.
But that is new and also I got a permission slip for my kids to watch, for my oldest to watch Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the Gene Wilder version. Okay, not the Johnny Depp version, the one from the 60s.
And I know for movies they do that.
They didn't used to because I was a teacher. Yeah, so I taught for 10 years in Flagler, and my last year was in 2017, which is not too long ago. But no, I showed movies all the time. I think the rule was if it was PG-13, okay. But PG is fine. Or even G, even if it was G, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of G-rated things on Disney or whatever.
Yeah.
But a G or PG was you didn't need a permission slip. PG-13, yeah. But if even in middle school or even in high school, yeah. This was because I taught high school more in 2013-ish, and I would show PG-13 movies all the time because they were over 13.
Right. I think you're right, too. It's recently that they started doing that. Like, in the last couple of years. Because I don't remember for my older ones. I mean, my oldest is 22, so years back, I don't remember having to sign that much permission slips.
Yeah.
But I feel like now I do for, like, just about everything.
I don't think I've told this story on the podcast before, but I showed a Bill Nye Saves the World episode, which is not the same as Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Okay.
Bill Nye Saves the World is definitely more mature.
Okay.
But it's not inappropriate. It's all about science, you know? And so I showed it to my advanced placement environmental science students, all juniors and seniors, okay? And this boy who was a junior, he told his dad about it, and his dad got pissed and told the principal. And
oh my God.
I was 9 months pregnant. Maybe no, I wasn't 9 months. I was like 8 months pregnant. It was like right before I was leaving. And I had already resigned, you know, because I'm like, I'm not
so
teaching.
You're like,
I'm
out
of here. But they didn't know that I had resigned. Like, I didn't really tell anybody. And so the principal's like, you know what? We're actually going to fire her.
Just to make them happy.
Yeah. And I'm like, part of me is like, what? Why didn't you fight for me? Like, and the other part of me is like, well, I guess that's a good idea. I can see both, you know, I was like kind of pissed, but at the same time, I didn't care. But the Bill Nye Saves the World episode, it was about gender fluidity because we were doing a whole unit.
So you were grooming them.
I was. But it was basically about, like, the science behind being feminine or masculine. It's like, oh, haven't you ever, like, seen... you know, like a tomboy or whatever. It was like something about that because the unit we were doing on environmental science was all about like feminism and like equal rights for women and how it's crazy. It's like there's so much data out there that suggests that like if women weren't so oppressed in different parts of the world, they're like the rates of hunger and poverty would be so much lower. Yeah. Because these women would be allowed to have their own farms and like grow their own crops and they're so good at it.
Now that you mentioned that, I saw, I guess now we might be going to war, or we are at war.
Oh, is that when Trump said that he would encourage Russia to attack the European? No, this is
not necessarily
else.
That, but I think I don't know where it came from. But I'm just seeing TikToks about it, so I'm assuming someone somewhere
said
that they're going to draft women, or moms, right? And so like
the whole country would fall apart.
The internet's like that's hilarious, and they're making memes and like videos about it, and they're like, oh yeah. Us moms will be there in a heartbeat. We'll get it fixed, and then we'll just pretend we're still at war, just to have like 2 weeks off.
I mean, that is so true. Man, we could talk for hours about how if women ruled the world, what a different place it would be. And that's not to be sexist. It really isn't.
It's just science.
It really is.
Which that's why it's important to watch videos like that because. You hear people say, like, there's only two sexes and stuff like that, but that's not true. Yeah. And teaching that is not indoctrination. It's just science.
Yeah. I mean, not to get too much into it, but, like, testosterone levels do have a huge role in war, if you think about it. And not all men have the same levels of testosterone, which is how you get things like, what's it called? Genderqueer. Right. But also like non-binary or whatever.
Asexual.
Yeah. And there have been non-binary people since the beginning of time. Yeah. And we are, history classes and society has just sort of like ignored those facts of history. Yeah. That like, if you look at every single hunter-gatherer culture, like before the ages of farming and settling down and building cities and stuff, like when they were sort of traveling nomads, they all had one thing in common, which was like a medicine man or a medicine woman, but it wasn't always a medicine man or medicine woman, or it was like a shaman or something. And of course, every culture calls it something different, but almost every culture, they didn't have a gender. It was a genderless person who like solved ailments and like cured diseases.
Sorry.
This Jennifer is cute. Actually, you know what? That's our cue to get back on track.
My bad. It was like, cut it out. We're going too far.
Okay, anyway, that's it. That's all I'll say on that. I don't know how we got there, but I think we are ready to talk about the book now, unless you have anything else you want to add.
I was just going to say, not to take it back to that topic, but they talk about women being like, too emotional and stuff. Oh, yeah. But have you seen the amount of videos of men breaking their TVs?
Because of Taylor Swift.
Because the 49ers lost. And I'm like, oh, but we're emotional.
And so many people or men, I will say, wanted the 49ers to win just out of spite.
Yes.
It wasn't like, oh, you don't actually care about the 49ers. Let's be real. No one really likes the 49ers. Like, unless you
live there, maybe. Or...
But, like, and I saw this funny meme. It was like, it's ridiculous at the amount of angry white men at the fact that there's a all-American football star who's playing on a arguably offensive football team, the Chiefs, right? Which we won't get into, dating a white, blonde, blue-eyed country singer.
Right. This should be like a wet dream for them. Like, and instead they're mad.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Oh, yeah. But yeah, the Chiefs apparently, like, that could be argued that it's offensive.
It is.
It's such an American thing to name a football team after an indigenous culture.
Yeah, and they have an issue, I think, with their logo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Which I haven't done much research. I know, like, in Florida, there's, like, the Seminoles.
Yeah. But
that's not problematic because they actually work with the Seminole community.
Okay.
And the mascot is an actual Seminole. You know how he rides the horse sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, I've never, but no.
And so it's like they actually. Well, I've seen it on TV, and there's been some controversy around it.
I know. That, I remember there being a controversy with like they do like the
tomahawk. Yeah, the tomahawk chop.
Yeah, and I think that I remember seeing something about that a couple of years ago.
I can't. Obviously, I'm not indigenous, so I can't speak to it. But I do know that it's different from like the Redskins, for example, because they're actually the Seminole tribe is working with Florida State University, and it's sort of like a collaborative relationship.
Yeah.
But like the Redskins, no. Like
that's offensive.
That's racist. And so that's why they changed their name. But the Chiefs, I don't know, I don't think they ever had to change
I haven't heard about the name. I did hear about the logo like recently.
Oh yeah, the logo.
That there's indigenous people who have an issue with it.
Yeah.
Because they're just saying like, our logos, our culture is not like a...
Yeah. War paint and feathers.
Right.
Yeah.
And the people
and the war paint and
feathers
are very important.
And people wear them to the games, like, and there was like a whole issue with like a little boy wearing one. And,
cultural appropriation and disrespect for the sacred religious ceremonies or whatever.
It's not a costume, basically, and people are using it as a costume, as dress up, and it's not cool.
So you'd think all those racist Americans would be all about this.
Right.
But no.
Yeah, it's so weird to see them, like, go against. And speaking on that, I know it's a little off topic still, but Beyonce just announced that she's dropping, I'm not sure if she already dropped it, a country album.
No way.
And there's already...
What? Yes. With who? By herself?
Well, she's from Texas.
Okay.
So she's like, she does.
Is she like collaborating with Brad Paisley or something?
I don't think she collaborated with anyone. It's like her album.
Good for her.
And I've just seen like one song that I've heard of. But there's a radio station in... Pause. Let me look that up.
This ain't Texas. Ain't no hold'em.
I like it. It's like folky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't like country music per se, but like the more I hear it on...
You want to listen to it again?
It's like it was lagging, so it paused itself.
Yeah.
So, but it keeps popping up on my feed because everyone's like, oh, I'm country now, they're putting the cowboy hat on and they have like a dance to it. And I'm like, it's growing on me.
Yes, it's not, I love all kinds of music, and like the idea that you have to be white to be a country music artist is fucking ridiculous. Like Darius Rucker from Hootie and the Blowfish. Do you remember Hootie and the Blowfish? The lead singer is Darius Rucker, and he's like a huge country star, and he's black too.
Yeah.
And I actually like his music, but it's the racist, stupid, ignorant country music that I don't like. But
it's problematic. Yeah. Like.
Yeah. Yeah.
My thing is, I guess, no, I've never really liked country music.
Yeah.
There's some songs that I do, but like the really like popular ones, but it's not something I'll play.
Yeah, yeah. But, well, I like folk, so I feel like folk is similar, but I like, like Taylor Swift has some albums that are more folky than poppy or whatever. And that's kind of what Beyonce sounds like a little bit too, but it's a little twangy.
Twangy, yeah. She's got that southern twang.
And then, so last note before we jump into the book is the Dixie Chicks.
Oh yeah, someone was saying she should collaborate with them. Yeah. It would really piss off like.
Yeah, well, the Dixie Chicks, like Taylor Swift, women, okay, powerful. They don't give a shit about what these like their racist country fans are saying, because they dropped the word Dixie.
Yeah.
And so now they're just the Chicks.
And Lady Antebellum did it too.
Yeah.
They're just now Antebellum, I think. No, Lady A.
Lady A.
Lady A.
That's what they are.
Because I like them.
Yeah. I like Lady A. I like Lady A.
I know.
And the Chicks. Earl, oh my God.
Yeah.
Earl had to die. Come on.
Great song.
That's why, those
so
racist men don't like
some
them.
country
Yeah,
music.
Anyway.
So this guy posted on, I think, Twitter, X, that he requested.
It's Twitter.
Twitter. It's always going to be Twitter. That he requested. Oh, are we done naming them?
It's okay. We can do it.
It's not a
Elon
person,
Musk.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. I requested Texas Hold'em at my local country radio station, KYKZ. KYKC, yeah, I said that right. And after requesting, I received an email from the radio station stating we do not play Beyonce on KYKC as we are a country music station.
Are you kidding me?
And he's got the email and everything. Like
that radio station is.
They just put it out there with their full, they're like, yes, we're racist.
Stupid.
Here we go.
Yeah. Ugh. That reminds me of something you showed me where the guy was basically like talking about, yes, we want white supremacy or something.
Oh, that was at the legislative session, yeah.
And some guy was just sort of like, he was defending the Woke Act or something?
He was mad about the statues being torn down.
The
Confederate statues.
So they there's a bill that's on its way to being passed that is preserving these statues.
Yeah.
And so his argument was, he literally word for word, he used the word white supremacy.
He said white power.
White power.
We'll have to look it up.
Yeah, something. Either way, like we'll put it in the show notes. But it looks like in Florida, these Confederate statues are going to remain because of white power.
Yeah, basically.
Florida, woohoo! All right,
I'm like, if we're gonna do that, we should put like a plaque or something.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, we'll leave them up, but we're gonna tell you the real shit about these people.
I was thinking that too. Yeah, it's like the plaque needs to say all the terrible things that they did.
You want to leave this historical figure up? All right, but let's include the history and what this shitty person did.
I'm almost leaning more towards that than getting rid of it all.
Yeah.
It's like let's remind ourselves of the terrible things that we did. But so we are at the 27-minute mark.
Okay, so let's get into the book. So we're going to discuss All American Boys by Jason Reynolds and Brendan Kiely.
And so two different authors. Obviously, Jason Reynolds, he wrote Stamped and some other things, and he's the black author, and Brendan Kiely is the white author.
Yes. And this book has a bunch of accolades. Accolades? Accolades.
It's okay.
I don't know what I'm saying half the time. So it's a big list of stuff that they're awards that it received. And
I can see the two things on the book cover right
there.
there.
Oh yeah, so on the book cover already it has that's hard to read. Hold on, let me look it up here.
Here, let me see it.
See if you can make that out. The Walter.
That is hard to read.
Yeah.
The Walter Dean Myers Award for Outstanding Children's Literature. That was hard to read, but I have really good contacts on right now. So, and then Nonviolent Social Change, the Coretta Scott King Award.
Yes.
For Peace, Brotherhood, Honor, and Nonviolent Social Change, which is amazing. Also, it was a New York Times bestseller, and I'm sure more. A Junior Library Guild selection.
This is like the whole list. If you want to read it, it's like a lot.
Oh my gosh, that is a lot. The Lincoln Award, Illinois Teen Reader's Choice, Virginia Young Readers List, South Carolina Picture. It's not a picture book, but I
thought that was weird too.
It was a nominee, I guess. I don't know. Maybe you can do it anyway. Grand Canyon Reader Award nominee, Pennsylvania Young Readers Choice Award, Rhode Island Teen Book Award nominee, and this is great. Florida Teens Read Master List. So in Florida, which is like arguably, and more, I didn't read them all, but arguably the book banning capital of the world right now is Florida. It's crazy.
And I think that's why they want to do away with the Florida Sunshine State Readers, because it has books like these on their list and recommend a lot of these books. And they're like...
They're trying to get rid of the Florida
That's
Sunshine?
what I've heard, yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, because the Manny Diaz, the bad one, the commissioner of education, he's got like a list on the Florida government website of books that you can read, but that's not the same as the Sunshine Readers.
No.
It's like what he picks.
Right.
And so whatever. So Jennifer's going to kind of walk us through this book, and we're going to focus on the things that got it challenged.
Yes. So going back to book looks, right? That's what they use to challenge these books. And so what they're claiming is this book contains inflammatory racial and social commentary, profanity, alcohol and drug use, and violence. So this is a 2 point of view story. So it's the point of view of a black child and a white child. And
how old are they?
They're like 16, 17.
Okay.
They're in high school.
So this is a high school level book.
Yeah, I think they're around 17. And they both play basketball. And they're on the same team, but they don't really know each other. So it's kind of like 2 separate stories, but they're intertwined somehow. Okay. So we have Rashad and Quinn. And Rashad is the African-American student. He is a junior, oh my God.
Junior, that's hard to say. Junior ROTC.
That's the one, yes. Yeah. Thank you. And his father is a police officer.
Oh, okay.
And he is, on the basketball team, gets good grades, good student, stays out of trouble.
All-American boy. Like
All-American boy, right. And then there's Quinn, who is also not a bad kid either, but he does, they both do like a little bit of partying on the weekends.
Okay.
Have
normal
drinks.
Teenage stuff.
Normal teenage stuff.
Right.
They don't really go too much into that part, but they do mention it. And Quinn is the child of he's a Gold Star family. His father died in the war, Afghanistan or something.
Wow.
So it's just him kind of like helping his mom raise their little brother. And, he takes on, since his mom works a lot, he takes care of his little brother a lot. And so there's that dynamic.
Yeah.
And he also plays the basketball and hangs out with his friend. And he's got his best friend, and his best friend's brother is a cop.
Oh.
So here's where it intertwines.
Okay.
Peter.
Is that the best friend's brother?
Is it Paul or Peter?
Peter paid Paul.
I'm so bad with names.
That's okay.
It's either Paul or Peter. It's a P name. Is the cop.
Okay.
And he's like an older brother, and he kind of stepped in and like helped Quinn during, his dad's funeral, and like helped him learn how to play basketball.
It's like a father figure.
Yes.
Quinn.
And then like his whole family has like really taken him in, and he spends a lot of time there. So Rashad goes into a convenience store to get a bag of chips. He ends up tripping over. He bends down to get something out of his duffel bag, and the lady that was standing behind him trips over him. And while they trip, the bag pops, so it makes a popping sound. And there's a cop there, Peter.
No, his name's Paul. I just looked it up.
Shoot.
It's okay.
Paul. Peter and Paul. I'm getting biblical vibes now.
I know. Right?
Paul is there as like security guard because there's like a lot of people stealing at that convenience store.
Okay.
And they're already looking at him suspiciously. So when that happens, he jumps to conclusions and acts like he was attacking the lady. And then also like trying to steal things because he had the duffel bag open. And so he takes him down and he's trying to explain to him like, hey, like this is just a misunderstanding. And he's like, I'm tired of this, happening here. And he drags him outside. And he's not resisting, but he's just like, hey, let me explain. Like, throws him on the ground and beats the shit out of him.
And this is Quinn's like father figure.
Yes.
His best friend's brother, who's the cop named Paul. Okay.
And then in Quinn's side of the story, they're about to go hang out with, to a party. And this is a store where they get liquor from. Like they usually get like somebody walking by and like, hey, will you buy us some beer?
Right.
And the adult goes in and buys beer for them. So Peter.
Paul.
Paul. Shit. now I'm stuck in between Peter and Paul.
Like Paul Blart Mall Cop, which I just watched that movie with my kids. It is a recommended watch. Like, you should definitely watch
That
it.
is a funny movie.
Anyway.
So Paul is there. Let me write it down so I don't forget. Paul. So Quinn is there. He's the one. He's hanging out like in the alley with Paul's brother, another friend. But Quinn is the one that's going to go get somebody to buy the beer for them. So he walks over and comes upon the scene of Paul beating the shit out of poor Rashad. And he locks eyes with Rashad. And he's like kind of and he's like, he feels like he recognizes him, but he doesn't place him in the moment. And he's just kind of like shocked by what's happening. And then he just like leaves, right? He runs back to his friends and he's like, we gotta go. Like, and then cops start showing up. And they're, they have to jump a fence to get away. But it stays on his mind.
So this is, it starts with the scene of police brutality, which we can't have. We can't have kids reading situations where police are wrong. Right. And so that's probably strike number one from groups like Moms for Liberty is we don't want teenagers to have that in their mind, that that's a possibility. Right. And then I guess the alcohol narrative, they're using that, in my opinion. They're using that to say, oh, this book is inappropriate because it encourages kids to buy alcohol or to get an adult to buy alcohol for them. When really it's the police angle that they really have a problem with. Because if you let's just stick with the alcohol narrative. I mean, do you have Netflix? Right? And like any TV show or movie, that, especially if you're a high schooler, like you've heard that story. You've seen it happen on a TV show or in a movie, whatever.
Let's just go back to when we were teenagers. Were we reading books about using alcohol? Is that what encouraged us to go do that?
No.
First of all,
I wasn't reading books. So. If I was reading books, I wouldn't be out trying to go get alcohol. Which, orange juice and vodka, screwdriver, that's what I had. That's what I drank, I
used to do MD 2020.
What the fuck is that?
That's like some...
illegal, I'm sure.
It's like really cheap, really like
sounds like Four Loko to me, which is illegal. Kind of. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Maybe like that.
Something that'll give you a heart attack.
No. Well, actually, maybe not like that then.
Because that was like
fruity. And
okay.
It was either that
Boone's
or
Farm?
the
Boone's Farm is what the country kids drank.
The Old E, right? Old English.
Oh.
Those big
Yeah. Oh, those are disgusting.
Because we were really gangster back then.
Oh my god. That's funny. You had that and I had Boone's Farm and screwdrivers.
It's funny.
This reminds me of a story. So my favorite podcast is My Favorite Murder. It's a true crime podcast. Probably the OG of true crime podcasts. And they're just hilariously brilliant women. And so they were telling stories about alcohol when they were kids. And one of the hosts was like, we did the exact same thing. Like we paid these adults in the parking lot to get us our booze. And so we like spent 20 minutes like explaining to them all the different like flavors we wanted. And like, if they're out of watermelon, get this, whatever. And so the guys are just really nice. They're like, okay. They take the list and then, they're like, okay, we need the money. So they give him the money and then he rolls up his window and just like drives away with all their money. And they're just like, they just start laughing.
Right, because what are you going to do? They're like, yeah, who are you going to call?
I know that. I'm like, as soon as I heard that, I'm like, if that ever happens to me, that's what I'm doing.
Right. Oh, good idea. Good idea. We used to do beer runs, which is not a good thing.
No.
I never did it. It's just my friends did it.
Because you're a good girl.
I was a good girl.
Sure.
They would run into the gas station. And at this point, like, I think most of the attendants, like, knew what they were going to do because it's... they're dumbasses and would go, like, every week. They'd walk in, open the cooler, grab a beer, and just run out.
Oh, my gosh.
That was how we would get
back in the day. You could do that. You can't do that anymore.
You can't.
Well, and especially now, you'd get like if there's a police officer, you get the shit kicked out of you.
Well, yeah, basically.
Which brings us back to the book.
And that's the thing. They don't want to talk about it. They just want to pretend it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And if it does happen, well, they deserved it. You know?
Yeah.
And this book talks about that narrative,
Because people want an excuse to be racist. And to them, they're not being racist. Like, that's just how they act and that they deserved it.
Right.
Which is not true, which is completely wrong.
And even in this story, the dad, right, who knows his son is not a troublemaker. Rashad's dad, when he comes to visit him at the hospital, they're like, they're saying you were trying to steal, you were trying to shoplift, and you attacked a woman.
Yeah.
And he's like, Dad,
no,
like I didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what happened.
Yeah.
But the dad, who's a cop,
yeah, he didn't believe him at first.
At first, he was just kind of like,
yeah,
what were you doing? What were you thinking?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, that's not, that's not what happened.
Completely framed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not framed, but like ignored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they have problems with a lot of this. Like, let's see, what else did they have a problem with? It says, okay, so the dad is telling him this, which they don't say that. If you look at Book Looks, it just says page 13, and in quotes, there's no better opportunity for a black boy in this country than to join the army. Right? That's just the quote.
And they don't like that?
They don't like that.
Hold on a second. That was a quote that Moms for Liberty chose as a reason that this book should not be available to high schoolers.
Yes.
Jesus, that is ridiculous. Because they want to just completely erase race.
I guess. Yeah. Or maybe they're thinking that it's racist to say that, but this was his father saying that. Like, like this is your best option.
Right.
To get ahead,
Yeah.
Because that's, his father was in the army and has that mentality, like, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
And this is going to get you on the right path.
Because I think it's awful that oftentimes the only option a kid, a child, because if you're under 18, you're a child, has is to join the military. Nothing against the military, but like it is the hard reality is that like sometimes that is the only way you can get out.
Right.
And it's great. It's on the one hand, it's great that there is an opportunity to get out and make a name for yourself. But on the other hand, it sucks that you don't have a choice.
Right.
You live in a country that is supposed to be the land of the free and all these opportunities. But like you have one opportunity, and it's to go risk your life.
Yeah. And
As
Rashad doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Like Rashad doesn't like being in the ROTC.
This would have been great for Mark to talk about because he did it. That's what he did. He, and he's going to be on the show soon. He couldn't be with us today, but maybe we'll have like a little interview with him about this book later. But like he joined the army to get out of Bunnell.
Okay.
That's what he did. So
he would understand where this father was coming from. Mm-hmm. So Rashad doesn't want to do that. He's in the ROTC to keep his dad happy. Mm-hmm. But, they go back and forth over, like, how his dad is, like, very, like, focused on being, in the army, ROTC, army, and then a career in... Which,
you can see is just the dad wanting his son to be successful.
Which is a normal dynamic between a dad and son. So, sometimes I feel like Moms for Liberty puts quotes in there of something, but just because it's in the book, it doesn't mean it's something that's being promoted.
Yeah, like well, they just like find the word black, and they're like anything that has to do with like race that like insinuates that black people are oppressed, we're gonna have a problem with that.
Yes. Yeah.
So any insinuation of the reality of systemic racism, because Ron DeSantis and all the legislation that he's promoting and passing is that systemic racism doesn't exist.
Right.
And it's illegal to talk about. And that is not an exaggeration. In Florida, there's something recently that passed that even two adults at an educational institution could not talk about systemic racism.
That's just wild.
Yeah, so that prevents professional development of teachers learning from other teachers, which has happened before. Like,
isn't that a violation of their First Amendment rights?
Yeah, it should be. Hopefully, someone will pick it up and take it to the powers that be, which I don't have a lot of faith in these days. But yeah, it is a violation.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yep, mm-hmm. But anyway,
So that's one thing that they had an issue with. Mm-hmm. They had an issue with the whole him being attacked by a police officer. So I'll read that part, or do you want to read the part they had?
Sure, I'll read it. He shoved me through the door and slammed me to the ground, face first. Hurt so bad the pain was a color, white, a crunching sound in my ear as bones in my nose cracked. After he slapped the cuffs on me, the metal cutting into my wrists, he yanked at my shirt and pants, searching me. I let out a wail, a sound that came from somewhere deep inside. I just needed to move to hopefully calm the pain, but moving wasn't a good idea because every time I flipped and flapped on the pavement, with every natural jerk, the cuffs seemed to tighten, and worse, I caught another blow. a fist in the kidney, a knee in the back, a forearm to the back of the neck. Oh, you want to resist? You want to resist? The cop kept saying, pounding me. And if I could have, I would have told him that I didn't want to resist. Plus, I was already in cuffs. I was already stuck. The people on the street were watching. Their faint murmurs of, leave him alone, became white noise because they knew I didn't want to resist. I really, really didn't. I just wanted him to stop beating me. I just wanted to live. Each blow earthquaked in my insides, crushing parts of me I had never seen, parts of me I never knew were there. Fucking thugs can't, this is the police officer saying, fucking thugs can't just do what you're told. Need to learn how to respect authority, and I'm going to teach you, he taunted, almost whispering in my ear. There was blood pooling in my mouth, tasted like metal. There were tears pooling in my eyes. I could see someone looking at me, quickly fading into a watery blur. That must have been Quinn, right? Looking at him? No.
Oh, wait. Yes.
That was when Quinn and him locked eyes.
Yes.
All I could make out was the washed out grunts of the man leaning over me, hurting me, telling me to stop fighting, even though I wasn't fighting, and then the piercing sound of sirens pulling up. My brain exploded into a million thoughts, and only one thought at the same time. Please don't kill me. Which, this is not a fantasy. This is not a fairy tale. This is not out of, George Floyd.
Right.
And we all know George Floyd was not resisting arrest. Do you need to answer?
No.
Okay. And, it's so important. Reading those words, I got the chills, and I was reminded that, those are things that we need to know so that we can go to the voting booths or the voting polls and vote, when we can, to try and enact changes so that this stops happening. Because it has to stop happening.
And the thing is, they have it in there. I'm guessing they're using the excuse that it's violent, so that's...
And there's the police officer says the F word. Of course they're going to point to any little thing that this is inappropriate.
But they have the whole paragraph there, and I'm like, how do you talk about police violence without describing it? Mm-hmm. It's necessary.
Well, you don't talk about police violence. They don't want us to talk about police violence. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even when we covered Sold by Patricia McCormick, they didn't want us talking about sexual violence. But at the same time, there is a Florida law that states that students needed to be educated in sex trafficking. But I don't know how you can be educated in something if you don't understand it.
If you don't discuss it.
Yeah.
And it was actually in 2019, the Fraternal Order of Police chapter in the South Carolina town of Mount Pleasant tried to get this book removed from Wando High School's list of optional reading assignments.
Oh, wow. And wait, they tried to get it removed from a list of optional reading assignments? Okay. And that was in 2019.
2019.
That was before all of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the reason for it is... it said that the books are almost an indoctrination of distrust of police, and we've got to put a stop to that.
This is just...
So they try to ban this one and The Hate U Give because they're very similar topics.
Yeah, and that's a great example. While those two books aren't based on true stories per se, they are inspired by true events.
Right, exactly.
It's not like, this isn't coming out of left field. This isn't about unicorns attacking black people. This is a real thing that
this is not
happening.
A fantasy.
No.
This is fiction, but based on reality.
Unicorns would never attack black people.
No. No. Never.
But you get what I'm saying. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? That also reminds me, before you tell us about the next part of the book, I saw something that Anna for Florida posted, and every time she posts something, I send it to you because I'm like, we got to talk about this on the podcast. But it was a corrections officer got fired. Did you see that?
Oh, I didn't see that one.
It was, here, let me try and find it. It says, Florida corrections officer fired over video showing officer slapping inmate. So the difference now is that a lot of things are being videoed.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't matter. At this point, it's just how humans are being treated.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is, black humans and people of color are treated worse statistically, and it shows that. Especially by, law enforcement officials. Mm-hmm. And the evidence is there, the facts are there, and Moms for Liberty wants to ignore those facts and wants to, keep the next generation from rising up, and doing something about it, which is what we are seeing with LGBTQ rights, with the Youth Action Fund, led by, Jack Pettus and Cameron Driggers and a lot of other amazing students who are actually, fighting back against so many things.
Right.
And it's because they've read these books. Yeah. They've seen, it's happened to them.
And that's what they don't want.
Yes. And that is what Moms for Liberty doesn't want. And Ron DeSantis doesn't want that. And people like Ron DeSantis, they don't want that. And that's why we're here today.
And that's why they want to limit the whole, Black history in general.
And that's why African American studies is illegal in Florida. The advanced placement course, which we'll talk about in another episode. But
so that part happens. Which it's hard to read that, that violence occurs, but that's the reality for a lot of people. And we see it now. Now that videos pop up everywhere and things go viral, it's no longer a secret. If this happened in New York, we're going to find out about it here in Miami.
And maybe if you were a homeschooled kid, you wouldn't hear about this stuff because your parents would shelter you. And hey, if your parents want to do that, then unfortunately it's their right to do that as long as they're not harming you. Yeah. Okay? But when you send a kid to public school, that's the choice that you make when they walk through those public school doors, is they are now gaining perspectives from different people, either through direct instruction or through reading or being read to. And whether you like these perspectives or not, that's the key to becoming a well-rounded and informed individual. Right. Is exploring these different perspectives and getting outside of your own bubble.
Denying them these books is indoctrination on their part, because you don't want them to experience anything else or learn about anything else other than what you specifically want.
It's completely hypocritical.
That's indoctrination.
Yeah. I want to know what happens to Rashad and Quinn, though. Did they become friends?
No.
Okay. The whole book, they're just different narratives.
Yeah. Okay. So Rashad's obviously in the hospital. And so now it's Quinn's story, and he's going back, and he's having a hard time dealing with what he saw because it was so violent. But he's just we're just going to pretend it didn't happen. I'm just going to ignore that.
Defense mechanism, yeah.
And then he shows up to school on Monday, and everyone's showing the video because someone videotaped it. No. And so he's kind of okay, he refuses to watch it. He's still trying to, there's a lot of back and forth. Because there's that
connection with his father figure, Paul.
Yes.
And so he's trying to pretend it's not happening.
Right. Okay. And so he's going back and forth and, in an internal struggle with I'm just going to pretend nothing happened, but it's constantly thinking about it. And he goes and gets invited to a barbecue at Paul's house. Okay. Like I said, they're very close with the family. And so they're throwing a big backyard barbecue, and they get invited, and he's like, this is weird. Why are they throwing a party? Yeah. And so he goes to the barbecue, and everybody's there, and he says that he feels Paul always kind of staring at him. So he's does he know? Did he see me?
Yeah, because at this point, Quinn is a first-hand witness. Yes. Even though there's video of it, he was there. Yeah.
And so he's, it's awkward for him, and he doesn't know what to do. And they also have a cousin named Jill, and he likes Jill. Okay. And Jill's very outspoken.
It's not his cousin.
No, not his cousin. I'm sorry.
Got it.
Paul's cousin.
What kind of book is this?
Excuse me. And so he starts talking to her about it, and he tells her I was there, I saw it, because she's not okay with what's happening.
Okay, I was gonna say, is Jill a snitch? What's going on?
Yeah, no, Jill is not okay with what Paul did. Right. And so when they go to school on Monday or Tuesday, on the sidewalk there's a big someone tagged the sidewalk, and it says Rashad is absent today. So I think this was on a Tuesday, because the first day of school, everybody went back and everybody was watching the video. Yeah. And, some people were don't watch that. You started to get people picking sides. The cop was right. Rashad deserved it, and the other
Which is what they want us to do.
Right.
Because that takes away attention from the real issues, such as like rising property insurance rates and low minimum wage. They want to pit people against each other. They want to pit different groups of people against each other, which you can see, in this, which you would think that they would be all for that, but
yeah. So people are like, who wrote the hashtag, and it becomes like a hashtag and like a movement. Because people start talking about, like, he should have been in school today. Mm-hmm. He should be here. And Paul's brother, his name is Guzzo. Mm-hmm. He's kind of like, my brother didn't do anything wrong. He was defending the woman.
And he's in high school.
He's in high school. Okay. He's like best friends with Quinn.
Okay. And of course he's going to take his side.
Yeah. And like, I understand it. It's like, he's your brother. And you see him as like, like your big brother, this like godlike person who can do no wrong. And from the way they're spinning it is, he was defending this woman. Mm-hmm. So when he's talking with Jill, they have this conversation, and I think he starts to realize that what Paul did, because in his eyes, he's still like, he knows Paul did too much.
Right.
But he still thinks like Paul was justified.
Right.
But he keeps doubting himself and things like that. So he starts talking with Jill. And Jill tells him, what do you think happened? And he goes, I don't know, unnecessary beating, shit, police brutality. Like he's trying to put a name to it.
Yeah.
And then so they're having this conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she says, Paul says he did what he did because he was protecting some white lady in the store. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what my mom says. But seriously? You think it would have been the same if the lady wasn't white or if Rashad wasn't black?
Right.
Seriously. Seriously what? Why is it taking me 5 minutes to say the word racism? Maybe you're racist. Jill tells him, maybe you're racist.
Oh my God.
And he says, don't joke. This is serious. And she says, I'm not. And he's like, I'm not racist.
And this is Quinn.
This is Quinn, yeah. And she tells him, not like the KKK racist.
Oh my God.
I don't think most people think they're racist, but every time something like this happens, you could, like you said, say, not my problem. You could say, it's a one-time thing. Every time it happened. I wanted to say something, but it was like my head just pounded and every word that came to mind just shook and fell back into my throat. I think it's all racism, Jill said for me. And if I don't do something, I finally mustered, again, this is Quinn. If I just stay silent, it's just like saying it's not my problem. Mm-hmm. So he's realizing
that he has these implicit racial biases.
Yes.
And Jill is my new favorite character.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's a good character.
She explained it very well.
And they have an issue with that. I just read this from Book Looks, not from the book.
Yeah, we don't even need to read the books at this point because we can.
Right.
They have just like all the good quotes.
Yeah.
Already on Book Looks.
So he starts realizing that he's being selfish, right? Because he's like, I saw this, but it's not my problem. I'm not going to say anything. Mm-hmm. And she's like, that's racist because you're only thinking about yourself,
right? And
not the consequences that this is gonna have for everyone else.
Mm-hmm. Which so many people don't understand that is racism. It's
right.
Like, oh, Trump being elected doesn't affect me, or it's not going to affect you. Get over it. Whatever. Like, no, that's not how you're supposed to.
Right.
To do. You're supposed to care about your neighbor, especially if you're claim to be a Christian.
Yeah.
Like you're supposed to care about other people, right? You're supposed to wash their feet on OnlyFans.
On OnlyFans. Hey,
I mean that's what Christianity is, right?
Maybe that could be my my new niche
there you
on
go.
OnlyFans.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
I can't stand touching feet though.
Oh,
but maybe I could get someone to wash my feet.
There you go.
I don't mind that.
All right, me either. Let's do it.
All right.
In some milk with cereal.
Ooh, and then we could sell the.
I feel like that's illegal though, because if you sell milk for consumption, which is what these perverts were doing, they were drinking it, and then you get sick, you can get sued. That's where my mind went. I'm like, these perverts are actually drinking this milk.
Yeah, no. Okay, never scratch that.
Okay, we got to get back on track.
All right, yeah. So they're at school and people are starting to pick sides. So now when you walk into the cafeteria, it suddenly became like all the white people are sitting in the cafeteria. And Jill and Quinn walk in, and immediately, like, his friend Guzzo is like calling him over, and they're like kind of like, we don't want to go.
Yeah, we don't want to sit with you white supremacists.
We don't want to go. But that's still his best friend, but it's awkward, and they've been avoiding each other. And so they're like, crap. So they go and sit with him, and they're talking about what happened. And he's like, oh, you know, they're starting to speak up a little about how they feel like that it was wrong. And so there's like a bigger rift between Quinn and Guzzo. Meanwhile, Rashad is still at the hospital. He's still missing school.
Jeez.
And there's another guy on the team who's like the popular guy, really good basketball player. And he was Rashad's like BFF too. And his name was English. Excuse me. And so Quinn knows English, right? And so he's like kind of talking to him. And they also have like kind of like a back and forth. Like you can't just be like, you know, oh, there's like good on both sides type of deal in this situation. There's none of that. So if you say stuff like that, then you're going against Rashad.
Right.
And he calls him out on it.
Yeah. There's a clear...
And he's kind of like, yeah. And he tells him in a way like, you know, I don't fuck with you anymore.
Right.
Like, don't talk to me. Like, and so he's like, no. Like, that's not what I meant.
Okay.
But they're calling him out on his like biases, and he's realizing like, okay, shit, I'm in the wrong here.
Yeah. Which is so, if we want to take a pause here for a minute, it's so important as a white person reading this book to be like, oh, it's as simple as just doing that. Like, it's not rocket science to just say, like, you know, I remember there was a time in my early 20s where I was like, I'm not racist. Like, how dare you, you know, say that? And then, you know, it kind of dawned on me, like, it's okay to say, like, oh, yeah, everyone is born with these implicit biases.
Right.
And as long as you acknowledge them and try to just do a little bit better, then, you know, you're doing all that you can to become a better person. Because that's what life is all about. Every day, you just want to be a little bit better than you were yesterday.
Exactly.
In some cases, some people need to be a lot better than they were yesterday. But...
But you know, every little bit that changed, every little change helps.
Yeah, and that's, you know, to see Quinn doing this would be a really positive message for a lot of white kids that maybe don't realize, like, oh, that was racist.
Yeah. And on the side of when you're hearing Rashad's story, you know, he's in the hospital, he's got his family visiting him, and things with his dad are just weird.
Oh, yeah. Because his dad's a cop. Yeah. And he's having a hard time, you know, like, it's obvious that he's having a hard time dealing with his career and something that he respects, also coinciding with his own son getting beat up by a cop. Right. Which I can only imagine as a white person hearing this book. Like, I can identify with Quinn. Yeah. But I can't identify, but I can try and empathize. Right. But that's all I can do.
Yeah, so when I feel like this is why I'm focusing more on Quinn's side of the story, because it's something that I could say, like, oh yeah, I can speak a little bit on that because I can identify more with that aspect of it.
But it's hard to speak on Rashad's story. But it's not hard to read it. You can read it.
You can read it and definitely feel, you know, get an impression of what he's going through. But I don't want to mischaracterize anything.
Yeah, I get that.
And he's got his brother who comes to visit him as well. And his brother does not get along with his dad. Okay. Because his brother has more of an activist mentality. You know, he's like, cops are always doing this, they're always pulling us over. And
he has the all cops are bad mentality.
Kind of, yeah. And his father's like, pull up your pants, why do you have to dress like that? And he even asked Rashad, were your pants hanging low when you were at the store? Oh my God. Of like, like that justifies.
Were you asking for it? Which is so wrong. Like, as a woman, it's like, oh, were you wearing a low cut top when you were raped? Were you asking for it? It's the same thing. Were your pants hanging low? Like, were you asking to get your ass kicked by a police officer? Right. Yeah.
And also, we see that a lot too. Like, even if he had stolen a bag of potato chips, does that justify getting your ass beat? No. Or getting shot?
Right. Should George Floyd have been murdered for using a $20 counterfeit bill? Right. Yeah. The other thing I heard about the George Floyd thing is he had a white friend in college, George Floyd, who was also dealing in counterfeit money.
Okay.
And, you know, he didn't die, and he didn't obviously, you know, like he moved on and, you know, got a job and whatever. And now it's like, he was like, it's a funny story I tell at dinner, you know, but that's my privilege. That's the difference between me and George, you know, which had never heard that before.
Right. Because that's exactly it. Different experiences. Like, I remember, you know, we've all been pulled over by cops, right?
Yeah.
But we're not like, it never crosses my mind that I'm going to get shot.
Never scared.
And I'm talking about, I've been pulled over going the wrong way, speeding after my boyfriend because I was pissed off at him.
Going the wrong way.
With open containers of alcohol in my car.
Up.
I got pulled over. And then when the cop pulled me over, I was like, I know why you pulled me over, but that motherfucker over there really pissed me off, and I know I'm wrong.
And you didn't go to jail?
I wasn't being disrespectful to him, but I was like elevated and like hot because hello, I'm going.
Did you go to jail?
No, I didn't even get a ticket.
What?
Because in that time I was a cute 20-year-old underage drinking.
Oh,
underage because I was not 21. So
that's your privilege right there.
And
because you had a lot of privileges going for you. You had your light skin privilege because if you were a little bit darker, who knows what would happen? And you had your beauty privilege.
Yeah, I definitely had pretty girl privilege then.
Pretty girl.
Now, I definitely don't have it now.
Listen.
No, now if I get pulled over, I get a ticket, and I'm like, fuck you, piece of shit. Before I would get pulled over, and the cop would be like, "Oh, I hope to see you under better circumstances." And I'd be like, "Oh, me too. Get me out of this ticket."
We were both walking down the street. I'm sure we would get catcalled, okay? Which I don't think is a good thing.
I still get catcalled. They're usually like 80
and
really pervy, but I'll take it.
It counts. It counts.
But yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I've never feared for my life like that. And I've just always been like, yeah, it's fine. So I can't identify with what Rashad went through.
Right.
Or, you know, his character.
Right.
Now, my father, I will say, he is dark skinned. He's not black. I don't even understand where his dark skin comes from.
Right. Yeah.
Because he wasn't dark as a baby. But he's, you know, darker skin. He's brown, dark brown. Or medium brown. Yeah. Whatever.
What color coffee would you say?
But at night, you know, they just see someone who is darker skinned in a car, and he's been pulled over for bullshit reasons. Right. You know?
Like a broken taillight or something.
Some bullshit. Like, we noticed the light was out and there's nothing wrong with the car.
Or you didn't yield.
You know, right. Yeah. A bullshit reason to pull you over and find out why you're there, what you're doing. Yeah. So.
Racial profiling.
I've seen that happen. And never to the extreme of, you know, him, because he's older. You know, usually it's with younger guys that run that risk, I think, right? Like, that's more the dynamic.
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
But he's still been pulled over for things that are, like, frivolous. Right. Whereas I've never dealt with that. Right. Like, I've gotten pulled over for legitimate things, like, you know, your tag is expired.
Driving in the wrong direction.
Speeding.
Ma'am.
And I think I've only gotten a ticket like twice.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah.
And now that I lost my pretty privilege.
You have not lost your pretty privilege, but I understand wanting to be a little bit more careful. Yeah. And not driving down the wrong way.
So, yeah, I forgot where I was going with this, with the story.
We're talking about how we can't really speak to Rashad's experiences.
Yes.
Yeah. That's all the more reason that books like this are important. Right. Is so that we can sort of like, this is like a window into his world. And that's what books are. Sometimes books are windows. Sometimes books are mirrors. For a black boy, this book might be a mirror. Right. But for a white girl like me, this book is a window. Excuse me. And now I can crawl through this window and actually, and to some extent, feel, you know, a little bit about how Rashad is feeling, because that's what books are supposed to do. Right. And so, to ban or challenge this book, or to make it harder for a kid out of high school to get this book, like, because let's be real, that's the one place that kids can get books, no questions asked. You don't have to be driven anywhere. You know, the media specialists do such a good job at like putting them on display. Right. And if your eye is drawn to this book cover, you know, and you grab it and you just start reading it, you know, because you're trying to escape the bullies at lunch or whatever, or even if, you know, you just you have a long bus ride home or
Right.
something. Like this is an opportunity for them to either crawl through the window or look in the mirror.
Yeah. And then it's just like, just because you don't like the subject,
Yeah.
you want to ban it? That
Yeah.
doesn't make sense.
No.
Like,
Very Hitler-esque.
yeah. Because to pretend that this doesn't happen, it does.
Yeah.
Like, we see constant proof of it happening.
Yeah.
And we see exactly what happens in this book where they're like, where people are saying, well, he was, he's probably a thug. He's a thief. He was attacking this woman. And he even mentions, like, Rashad is worried that they're going to find pictures of him, like, putting up the middle finger, which what kid doesn't do pictures like that?
Yeah. I'm embarrassed to say my 6-year-old has discovered the middle finger, and she thinks it's hilarious.
So his brother got ahead of it, right? And he got the video, and he gave it to the news people and gave them a picture of him in his ROTC uniform. And his brother, like, Rashad is looking at it like, why'd you do that? And he's like, I'm trying to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
Because if we give them the chance, they're going to put a bad picture of you and portray you a different way.
That is so smart. Because, when you see the news and stuff, it's like, sometimes it's just like the worst picture ever. Come on, that there's better pictures out there.
It's always their mugshot.
Yeah.
And if you notice,
it's not like them with their kids.
Unless they're white.
Yeah.
Because when it's a white person that gets arrested, majority of the time, it's a nice picture of them.
Yeah.
So now that this has been happening, the kids are starting to pick sides. They're planning a protest.
Oh.
Yeah, and their hashtag is taking off. The Rashad is absent, or Rashad is not here today. It takes off, and so it leads to this whole thing where Quinn wears a shirt that he wrote on with a marker that on the front said, "I'm marching." And on the back it said, "Are you?" ? So he finally decided, I'm picking a side.
Nice.
He's gonna march. Something that also happens in the story is when they're playing basketball, right? You have Guzzo, which is Paul's brother. You have English, and you have Quinn on the team. Guzzo and English, which is Rashad's best friend, they're kind of having friction as well.
And so it's like white versus black kind of thing.
And so Quinn is kind of stuck in the middle because he's kind of leaning towards English's side more than
social justice.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when he comes out with the shirt, it's more like
it's
this
clear.
is the side I'm picking. And Guzzo and Quinn get into a fist fight. Oh. And Guzzo's big. Okay. Paul is big. Guzzo's big. So he beats up Quinn.
And they're supposed to be best friends.
Right.
Okay.
They would call themselves family.
Oh yeah.
But now it's over.
Yeah.
And he's fine with it. Yeah. Quinn's whatever. I'm done too.
Good for Quinn.
Yeah. And so now he's picked a side. Rashad is getting out of the hospital. He wants to go to the march.
Oh my gosh.
And his dad is iffy. They don't know where his dad stands on this.
Yeah, because he's a police officer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the day of the march comes, and there's a bunch of military trucks.
Oh my.
Those big a riot gear.
Yeah, it sounds to me it's indicative of the Black Lives Matter protests.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're talking about it. The people who are opposed to it, it's going to be a riot. It's going to be violent.
Right.
And the kids are organizing it. They're we're
peacefully protesting.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And the coach had actually told the players, there's no protesting.
Yeah, I can see a coach doing that.
And then on the other hand, you had teachers helping to organize protests.
Of course.
So they show both sides of style teachers that you might run into.
Right.
And throughout the story, there's also they're not saying all cops are bad.
No, because they have a black police officer,
right?
And so clearly the narrative isn't all cops are bad, and I could see. Honestly, if that was the narrative, I could see how, some parents would be I don't want you to read that, because it's indoctrination or whatever. But it's not. It's just not. It's written by a black author and a white author.
Right.
And that right there tells you that it's two different perspectives in one book.
Yeah. And there's a little bomb that's dropped in there too that Rashad wasn't aware of.
Oh.
His dad, as a cop, shot someone.
Oh. Really? And so they kept that from Rashad?
Yeah. Okay. And so it comes out, and so, but it's still, his dad is like telling him the story, like, you know, in the moment when you're scared, high adrenaline, you don't know what they're reaching for. I didn't know he was
So it gives that police officer perspective.
Yes.
Which is really important.
Yeah. And it also shows like the guilt that he had because he did shoot someone that was innocent.
Oh, really? Did they die?
They didn't die, but they were handicapped. They were in a wheelchair after that.
Wow.
So, you know, he feels guilty about it. And in the same token, they were saying like, oh, you know, they were using the fact that he had shot someone unarmed, kind of like saying like Rashad deserved this. This is like karma.
Right.
You know, so there's like a lot happening in the book.
Right.
And a lot of
different
perspectives. Yes. So it's not all cops are bad and
or like all white people are racist.
Right.
It's not saying
it's not at all. So throughout the story you hear like him saying like there's a lot of good cops. You know, they're not all bad.
Yeah. I know a couple good cops.
And they were saying like, we know that, we're not saying that, but this cop is bad, you know?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so back to the protest, right? Which is where the book ends basically.
Okay.
Rashad gets out of jail, out of the hospital in time.
Yeah.
And he's able to go, and he's super nervous about going to the protest too.
I can't imagine.
And his stomach is in knots, and he has to keep going to the bathroom.
Aww.
Like his nerves are like, and you know, like he's nervous.
Right.
Makes sense.
Paints a really good picture.
Yes.
A little too good.
Yeah. TMI. Yeah. And they're showing up, and there's like I said, like they're in riot gear, and there's like red and blue lights everywhere, and
which just keeps making me think of the Black Lives Matter protests.
Yes.
Where they would throw like bricks at windows, but and say it was the Black Lives Matter protesters, but it was really like someone hired by like a police officer or someone with nefarious intentions to make Black Lives Matter protesters seem violent.
Right.
And get the crowd all riled up. And then once you get the crowd riled up, then that's it.
Right.
You know, like someone lit a car on fire, but I think there was not conclusive evidence, but some suggestive evidence that car was lit on fire by someone who wasn't involved in the protests.
And we saw a lot of that.
Yeah. That wasn't just one isolated incident. And that happened during the Stonewall protests, too, which is something that I want to cover when we get closer to June. But
okay.
Yeah.
So from here, I'm going to have you read this part.
Okay. There were thousands of cops, too, or what might have been cops. They looked more like an army of robo-cops. Black paramilitary outfits, helmets, automatic rifles, with a row of police tanks, like the one I'd seen that morning, and the rank upon rank of infantry. I swear it looked a lot less like Springfield and a lot more like Kabul. Is that Kabul, is that like a city in Afghanistan or something?
Maybe.
Okay. Sorry, we don't get that reference. I could see the black canisters of tear gas in the belt loops of the cops. I filmed the tanks too. I filmed the guys who had their guns raised and aimed toward the marchers. And again, these are peaceful marchers. Yeah. And we've seen this before. This isn't just something that's made up. That, it's been happening since the civil rights, even before the civil rights movement.
And this is from book looks. Again, you're not reading that from the book. This is what they tagged.
There wasn't even anything bad in that. There were no curse words. There was no mention of race. It was just...
It's almost like they realize that paints cops in a bad light.
Yeah.
But yet it's something that really happens.
Yeah.
So are you acknowledging that's
indoctrination, is trying to get rid of anything that has a perspective that's different from their own.
Yeah.
Which is reality.
Right. Like that happens.
Yeah. So Rashad goes to the march and he sees all this.
That was, I think, Quinn's point of view.
Oh, that was Quinn. Yeah. Okay.
It doesn't, obviously, it doesn't say that little tidbit who you're reading from, but that was Quinn's point of view.
Okay.
So, let's see. So, Rashad gets there. He sees his nurse that took care of him. Oh. She came to the march. He sees teachers. He sees classmates.
Oh, that must feel so good.
Yeah. He says, like, he acknowledges that while they're there because of what happened to him, he knows that this is bigger than him. Yeah. And it's more about the people who weren't able to make it because they actually passed away, due to police police brutality. Mm-hmm. So they do this part, which they tagged it as well, where they start
Moms for
listing.
Liberty?
Yeah. So they do a march from the school to the police station.
Okay.
Once they get to the police station, the only people that showed up were Rashad, his brother, his brother's girlfriend, and his mom.
Okay. To the police station?
To the school.
Oh, to the school.
So his dad did not come.
Aw.
So they marched to the police station. His dad is there waiting for them. So, like, I started crying when I read that part.
Goosebumps.
Yeah. And so, like, he walks down. Oh, my God, I'm going to get emotional thinking of it again.
Yeah.
And, like, walks over to him, hugs his son. And then they link arms, you know, because they were walking, like, linked arms.
Oh, I can see you're crying.
I got, like, really emotional when I read that because I was like, I don't know, something about, like, dads, you know, like, when they stop being assholes, you know?
Dads, when they stop being assholes.
Add that to a Father's Day card.
Or just make a t-shirt out of it.
So it was just, like, really sweet. Like, okay, he came around. He's there for his son. And so then people start laying down, right? Because they were having a die-in.
Yeah. And that's what... Oh my God!
They just did that.
The Youth Action Fund just had a die-in at the DMV because when a trans person wants to change over their license to their gender, they can't do it. It's illegal.
Yeah.
It's illegal in Florida to be who you want to be.
So they're gonna dead name them the whole time.
Unless you're a white straight Christian, then you can be whoever you want to be.
Right. Then you can change your name and make it whatever you want.
So they had a die-in.
Yes. And so his dad doesn't know what's happening, right? Because he's like, why is everyone dropping around us? And so, like, his wife, like, whispers in his ear and explains it. And so he helps his wife, like, lay down. Aww. And then he, lays down too.
Oh, good for him.
So really cute, like, character development there too.
Solidarity.
Yeah. And then they start reading, and these are real names.
Okay.
That they start listing.
Okay.
So someone starts listing names, and they say, this is a roll call. And they say, Sean Bell. Then she followed with, absent again today. Oscar Grant, absent again today. Rikia Boyd, absent again today. Ramarley Graham. She paused, and at that point, the rest of us knew exactly what to do. And so they start chanting, absent again today.
Oh, my God.
And so then she reads, and I'm going to read all the names that they have. Ayana Jones, absent again today. Freddie Gray, absent again today. Michael Brown, absent again today. Tamir Rice, absent again today.
I didn't remember that one.
Eric Gardner, absent again today. Tarika Wilson, absent again today. And Spoonie, which that's his brother, Rashad's brother, kept feeding Barry the papers one after another as she continued to read down the list of unarmed black people killed by the police.
Oh my God.
So that, what I just read, was also tagged by Book Looks as like problematic.
Are you kidding me? Just those names?
Just the names.
But that's real.
And that's real.
Oh
that's
my
fact.
God.
Like, there's no denying that this happened.
Oh, and this book was written before George Floyd?
Before 2015, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that is unreal. I mean, I believe it, but I can't. I just want to say I can't believe it, but I can,
And that's kind of basically where it ends.
That is so, like, strong.
The last, I believe, which they tagged it as well, if you want to read that part.
Moms for Liberty?
Yeah, okay. It's the 270 part.
I locked eyes with the kid I didn't know, but I felt like I did. A white guy, who I could tell was thinking about those names too. All I wanted to do was see the guy I hadn't seen 1 week earlier. The guy beneath all the bullshit too many of us see first, especially white guys like me, who just haven't worked hard enough to look behind it all. Oh my God.
And so that's kind of where it ends.
And and of course, Moms for Liberty has a problem with that, of becoming a better person, of expanding your horizons and acknowledging different perspectives is all that is.
Yeah.
But hey, we can't have that.
No. And they had a problem with, like, the authors'
acknowledgements.
Yes.
Because of the acknowledgement that police brutality is real. And yeah,
and they tagged it as problematic.
Yeah, you don't even need the book. Like, you can just go go read it on their, not that we want you to go to their website. Don't go to their website. You know what website we want you to go to is bookshop.org and buy this book, All American Boys by Jason Reynolds and what's his name? He's Irish, right?
Brendan
Kiely?
Kiely.
Yeah.
Like Smiley, yes.
Okay. Go to booklooks.org and buy this book, or go to your library and rent it out and read it. I haven't read it, but I'm going to add it to my long list of books. But actually, before I read this book, I'm going to read New Kid.
Yes.
Which is a middle grades level book, graphic novel, that is also about race.
Which has been banned as well.
Yeah, also banned.
Obviously, right?
Yeah. Sometimes we cover books that have just been challenged. But either way, I feel like if it's been challenged or banned, it's something that we're going to cover, especially for Black History Month. So we will be covering that next. And is there anything else you want to add? Because we are at 1 hour and 24 minutes.
Yeah, no, I'm going to wrap it up right there.
I'm glad this was so long. I think this was a good one.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And the book is really good. It's not a long read. You can get it done in a day.
Yeah.
Available on audio.
You can get it done in a day.
Well, it took me a couple of days, and I did mostly audio. So, but it's something I think should be easy to read even around your kids. Like my son was around, and he's like, "Oh, what are you listening to?"
Oh, I love that idea.
So,
that's such a great idea.
I mean, I don't have a problem with my kid hearing about like fuck or the word or like I say it. It's not.
Well, they hear it on the bus,
and they hear it on the bus,
and it's elementary school. Like you can't.
Yeah.
If you want to avoid it, homeschool your kids.
Right.
Listen, there's nothing wrong if you want to do that. That is your freedom, but you can't take the rights away from public schools. Yeah. And public school students. So that's why I send my kid to public school, to get a well-rounded education and perspectives of the real world.
Exactly.
And we don't want you guys taking it away from us.
Yeah, stop that shit, please. Yeah. So with that, don't forget.
Don't ban books.
Ban bigots. This episode has been engineered and mixed by your hosts, Jennifer Mendoza and Courtney Green.
Thanks for listening, and be sure to follow us at MILF for Books. That's MILF, the number 4, books, on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it.
And don't forget to help the show by rating us wherever you get your podcasts.